Hello. Next on stage we will have two people. Stanley from England. He will interview our special guest who came in from Stockholm. He has been touring with ABBA several years, kind of a tour manager, but he will explain all about it. You can also see some things, his jacket of back then, his backstage was in the exhibition room. But now let's hear what he has to tell us. They will go back in time. Please welcome Hans Lofvenberg. And I hope that everybody can be a bit quiet on the side so that we can all hear it.
Thank you, Helga. Yeah. So,
sounds nice.
Yes. It's really great that you're here.
Thank you.
It's
I've
really
been
an honor.
hearing so much about this, so
Yeah. From
it's nice to finally be here.
Yeah, we're very happy. But first of all, we want to know, how did you get involved into the music business in Sweden?
Well, it has to do with my school. I'm from third degree to graduation in high school. I went to a small school in Stockholm that had its focus on music. So there was music all the time, and among bands that we had in that school was one of the three most popular bands in Sweden in the late 60s. Even more popular than the Hep Stars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's true. So,
The name of the group was?
the Mascots.
The Mascots.
Interesting, right? No, but I get to hang around them and go along with them for the tours. I could only go on weekends since we had school too. And I started carrying the equipment, and it was a very musical band. They sang in harmonies, which wasn't so common in those days. So they needed somebody to blend their voices and to mix it. So I started with mixing sound for them. And there are two small, interesting details with that band, because the bass player, he was a school classmate with Lasse Hallström, who made ABBA the movie.
So here we have our first link with ABBA.
I've known Lasse for 50 years. So. And the other thing was, about halfway into their career, the drummer wanted to leave the drums and go up front to be a front singer. So we needed to take in a new drummer. And when the band broke up in '69, that drummer went on to play with Björn Rottiers, Group 90 Singers. So just to show you how small the music community was in those days.
And the name of the drummer was?
Kjell Jeppsson.
And he played with Rottiers
Yeah,
singers.
the last part of Group 90 Singers' history, they had a drummer as well, and that was.
So that was the first link with ABBA?
Yeah, I didn't know it by then, but.
But there are more links with ABBA from that early time.
I think they knew, since I was touring with that band, I think most of them knew me, but they had seen me, but we didn't know each other in any way.
But other people that you met at that time, like Tommy Sjöberg, you told me?
Yeah, it was when the Mascots broke up in '69. I had also graduated from high school then, so I was free, and Tommy asked me if I could do. He had just won the Swedish finals of the Eurovision Song Contest, and he had a big summer tour going, and he wanted me to do the sound of that one. So I think we have some kind of record there. During 3.5 months, we did 132 concerts.
Wow, that's a lot. That's more than 2 years.
Never below 2 a day. So it was
Amazing. But of course, we are all here to hear as much as possible about ABBA.
Yeah.
So what was your first assignment for ABBA?
It all has to do with Claes of Geijerstam, who did their concert sound from beginning to end. And he was also pop idol in the late 60s, very well known in Sweden, but he was good with sound as well. And I was involved in several of his constellations, doing sound for him. And among them, well, you all know that ABBA won in '74 the Eurovision Song Contest. And you probably also know that they won the Swedish finals in '73. No, they were competing in the Swedish finals.
73, yes.
And they did not learn. But how many here know who won the Swedish finals?
Who knows?
Great, one person. It was a duo called Malta, and one of them was Klas Bjärstad, of course. So he beat ABBA.
Yes,
and
that year, yeah.
That duo existed for 13 months, and I did the sound all the time. And we also had a fourth guy with us who owned the van that we were traveling in, and he turned out to be the stage manager on this Swedish tour in '75 and also the tour in '77.
Because that was already the first time you really went on tour with them. That was in '74, '75.
Oh, 75.
75.
Yeah.
We see here a photo with the crew. So I wonder, where are you? I don't know.
Guess.
Can you guess? Yes. There was someone who recognized you. So maybe you can just have a quick view of the photo and tell.
Well, you see ABBA in the front row, then it's the backing orchestra that we used, the beat makers in the middle row, and the far right there with long hair and black beard, that's Lasse Welander, who played guitar with ABBA on all their records and also on all their tours. So he wasn't in the beat makers, but he was on this tour. And the far end is the two of us making the sound, three Danish guys making the light, the driver of that truck you see behind, three roadies. One of them is Stickan Andersson's son, by the way, Lars, the blonde one, and then Bo Norling with the mustache, who was to be ABBA's real tour manager all the time, and then Stefan Lodin was the stage manager.
Okay. What do you remember of that first tour with ABBA?
Well, rather straight. I knew, of course, that they were going to do this big summer tour. But Klas came and asked me, what are you doing between these dates in that summer? Well, I don't know, I'm probably free. Okay, meet me in a big pub. Sorry, try not to put. Pub, which is a big department store in the middle of Stockholm. And I still didn't know anything, and he took me out there and he bought 2 jackets, summer jackets in cotton. And in another place in that department store, you could buy loose letters that you could, and they also had a machine there that you could press onto. So he bought letters and he started doing things, putting things together. I still didn't know it, but I'll show you.
Here we go.
This is what he came up with. We're going on tour with ABBA.
And you were impressed.
Yeah, I was very surprised. And so we formed the fabulous ABBA's rock sound director team. Well, it was a great summer tour.
You continued working with ABBA, but after that first tour, of course, you know that ABBA didn't go on another tour right after that, but of course you stayed in touch with them, and you have a very nice story about their summer holidays on their island in Vixö.
I think I know what you mean. Klas and I tried to hang out as much as possible in their summer house in the archipelago. And we always went out there when we knew that the weather was going to be great. Be swimming and water skiing and so on. But every day, for a couple of hours, Björn and Benny disappeared to their little house to make music, even though they didn't have any deadline or so to meet. They worked very hard with their music. People just think that, well, they put these songs together, a lot of money, very famous. I don't think that people really know how much hard, disciplined work there was behind these songs. Every day, couldn't you just forget it today and come swimming with us? No.
So they were very strict, very disciplined.
Yeah.
But there was some time for them to have fun as well, I hope.
Well, yeah, of course not. They weren't working all day, but we tried to make them free a full day, but never.
Okay. So after the first tour, you went on the first big tour in '77, and of course today and the whole weekend we are celebrating that tour because it's 40 years ago, '77. The first thing that comes to your mind when you think of that particular tour, what is it?
Well, it was decided that Claes and I should do the sound on that tour as well. But on the Swedish tour we had used Swedish equipment, very good equipment for like speakers and mixing tables and microphones and so. But they weren't good enough for big arenas, which this tour was going to have. So we went in contact with really an American firm called Tesco, but they also had a British branch, and so we rented equipment from them, and together with them came guys as well who knew the equipment and should be with us on the tour. And one of them was Keith Bradley, and by that time he was the sound engineer for Eric Clapton, so we thought, well, he might as well assist Claes with the sound better than I should do it. So I was supposed to do monitor sound, which is, you do it from a separate console up on stage, the sound that provides the sound for the musicians and the singers, so that they can hear each other and see what they're doing. But then another English guy was on that crew, Nick Pitts, and he was the monitor engineer for Rolling Stones, so he said, well, you might as well do the monitor sound. And that's how I became the assistant tour manager.
And now we understand why an assistant tour manager. But in fact, more than being an assistant tour manager, we are really involved in the whole sound design process.
And during the concerts, I always was up at the sound console.
If we go back to opening night in January '77, I don't know if you remember that night, but maybe you remember something that has to do with it.
I heard it in the quiz yesterday. What was the first? And it was Oslo. And we came there 2 days in advance just to check everything out for rehearsals. And the day before the concert, after the rehearsals, the local promoter took us on a sleigh ride with horses and torches and wolf furs and up to a ski resort where overlooking Oslo, and then we had dinner. So that's what I remember the most, I guess.
So it was a relaxed start of the
perfect
tour.
start of the tour.
Something else. How were your relations with the press during the tour?
Most of it was handled by Bo, the real tour manager there, but Claes and I, we were quite concerned about the sound, of course.
Yes.
But we were both angry and happy because we got reviews saying that we were using too much playback. Of course, you get angry because we didn't, and you get happy because they think that the sound is so good that they think it is pre-recorded. But if you like to, I can show you. We really had some playback. But this, if you like to hear.
Yes, we want to hear.
The only thing that we used.
This is from the 77 or 79 tour. What you
77.
Okay. Yeah.
I really recommend it. It's Claes and Björn and Benny singing, and that was just to get the tempo of the song. And when they started singing, it was all taken away. This was on a cassette tape, and that was the only playback we had. Actually, we had one more in the same song that we were going to use, but it sounds like this. But it was never used. Now you can use it. Now you can use it as a ringtone on your mobile or something. I don't know.
Now, do you agree with Björn that the Royal Albert Hall concerts were a very special moment and a milestone in ABBA's career?
Oh yeah. First to be able to play in the capital of pop music. But I think they found out that they had 5,200 seats that evening available, and there were 2 million requests for tickets. So that would mean that we could have made a sold-out concert for 384 concerts with that. Well, I tried puffing and beside it, it's very sensitive.
Just another question about the 77 tour in Europe. About the relation with the crew and with the audience. You told me something interesting about how ABBA are handling things.
The crew thing there, yeah. The crew, the English crew, they had a contract saying that they only had 1 hour off every day. It was because they built all the equipment, and they also had things to do during the concert with the spotlights and everything. So during the hour when the audience came in, they were supposed to eat, and their contract stated that they must have dinner, but it shouldn't consist of pizza, hamburgers, or chicken. And one day, I think it was in Germany, they got chicken. And they have a very strong union tradition in England. So they said, we go on strike. We won't do anything until we get the proper food. What usually happens was that somebody would be sent down to them and say, well, you won't get any pay, you have to do this job. But not Benny. He asked for a microphone, and he went in front of the audience 20 minutes before the show should start and explained everything. It says in the contract that they should have proper meal, and we won't start this concert until they do. And the English guy said, wow, he's taking our stand. Can't be possible. So they ate all the chicken, of course, and the concert started right on time, which was kind of a trademark for ABBA to start the concert in the exact moment it was supposed to. So that was just showing how they were as people. They took everybody's stand. It was very familiar.
And then, of course, we have the Australian leg of the tour. And the first thing that comes to your mind, the most vivid memory of Australia, was...
I guess several people have been here, being interviewed on this ABBA weekend before me, saying probably the same thing. The sound when they went on stage the first evening in Sydney, that roar that came in was unbelievable. And I think it was the first time that I realized how big it really was, even though we had done the whole European part of it before.
And how special was it for the whole crew to fly over to Australia?
We had a week between the European and the Australian part, and we sent Claes and Stefan, the stage manager, down in advance. So when we landed, they had already arranged everything for us, where we should go, where we should eat, where we should do our laundry, and said, we'll meet at Bondi Beach, come down directly with, it's a beautiful day.
Was it more complicated to go on tour in Australia?
No, we've been lucky all the time with good management that has prepared everything. part of it at that time was to go in if something from the itinerary went wrong, but it never did. We just had to follow it, and it was all taken care of. We lived like in a bubble, and we didn't really experience how big it was outside that bubble.
But of course there were some incidents, like for example the first concert in Sydney when the heavy rain hit the stage.
It had been raining all day, and it, you know, it was grass on that showgrounds.
How bad was it?
It was bad, and it was not raining. It was like sky falling. But so they had put up planks on the grass for them to walk from the dressing room to the stage. Otherwise, their shoes would be stuck in mud.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of rain.
Well, you were impressed by the reaction of the Australian fans. For example, in Melbourne, 16,000 people, in addition, 60,000 people viewed the concert from behind security fencing. How impressive is that?
I didn't get to know that until I came home and visited Thomas Johansson, who was their international manager, or I would say national promoter. When you came into his office, he had two big pictures on the wall behind his chair, and it was taken from a helicopter, and the same view on both pictures over the arena during the concert. One is taken when Paul McCartney played there, and the other was taken when ABBA played there. It was twice as many people, probably those 16,000 that you said here. And Thomas is still very proud of that.
I mean, I can understand why.
I can understand it as well.
Then when you went to Perth, the thing you told me that you remember of Perth is not the incident with the bar threat, but another thing.
But the promoter took us out on a boat.
Yes.
One day
Tell us about the tour on the boat.
Not much to say. It was a beautiful day, and they wanted us to go out and see some sea lions on a small island there. And he anchored the boat like 100 meters from shore and said, swim ashore. I said, sharks here, huh? Don't worry. When there are sea lions, there are no sharks. So we played around with them for a while. They are very playful. You couldn't really imagine how fun it was.
We're not only celebrating, of course, the 77 tour, but also the 40th anniversary of ABBA, the movie, directed by Lasse Hallström. And yeah, I wonder how was the contact with Lasse during the tour, and
since I knew him for so long time, I thought that I was going to get a role somewhere in the movie.
But you didn't.
No.
But you are in the movie.
I'm there. If I know where to look, what to look for, I can see myself on 2 clips in the movie. But that was all. But he is a perfect guy who just, you never see him. He makes a great job without anyone wonder, was he ever there? And he was. Well, it's great to work with him.
So he didn't give, or the movie didn't give you extra strain?
Not in the least.
So, compared to other bands, how would you describe the atmosphere amongst the crew, with the ABBA members?
Familiar. It's like a family. That's why we're still sticking together. They take care of everyone, and they are very ordinary people. Yeah. Compared to many others who think the stardom gets to their head. No, it's nice to.
That's always nice to hear, of course. And how well did you get along with Stickan Andersson?
Strange, because I've been at Stickan's place once in the countryside before ABBA. So I have met him, but after that I don't even think that he was aware of that I was on this tour.
And here we have another picture of you.
Well,
and so, okay, maybe we have to move a little bit and we can see. I think this photo can also be seen in the tour program. So, yes.
Actually, a couple of days before we went on this tour, it was very hectic the days before it started in Oslo. And everybody got a letter saying, we need 16 pass photos. It's for work permits and visas and things like that. So I ran into the central station in Stockholm, did 4 of these 4x4 and sent in. I didn't know that they were going to use it for backstage pass. What they did was they took all our passes and put it on the floor and took a photo from above, and it's full size in the souvenir program. And most of these look like mug shots, you know, that they have in police stations or absolutely.
Look at this.
So Lasse is okay. Malando he's just black. You know, you can hardly see him.
And on your backstage pass, there was also a strange middle name.
Nah, my backstage pass is in the other room, so you can go and check it. That was only on this one.
Yes.
They probably put it on there.
So yeah, and so your name is Hans Lofvenberg, but on your backstage pass it's written Hans Dödel.
Yeah,
Lofvenberg.
Then when I was touring for 5 years with that band that everyone knew, and most people could recognize my face, nobody knew my name. Then when I went out with Tommy on that long summer tour, I came out of the shower one morning with pale and long hair and black rings under my head and a big bath towel around me. And somebody said, oh, there comes the death. And so I got that name, and now everyone knows me by that name.
Still, they still use it in
industry.
the music industry.
Yeah.
Okay. So after that long tour, did you work again with ABBA? For example, did you go on tour with them in 1979?
No, I was supposed to.
You were supposed to?
I had an ordinary job for 40 years as well, and they wouldn't let me take any more time of leave. They said, if you go on this tour, you have to resign. And since I knew I had years left to work, so I decided. I knew also that it was ABBA's last tour, so I skipped that one.
But there came Chess.
Yeah, only a year later they contacted me again